view of Russia, and that the previous speaker said, what is your
thank you very much,
vision
and I'm
of
very
Russia
happy
in
to be here
10
at the
years?
St. Petersburg Economic Forum. My thinking is very much in line with what Sergei Guriev and Piotr Aven and Klaus Mangold said here, and we really have a big consensus now about the analysis of the Russian economy, which is perfectly in line with what President Medvedev said in his speech today, and in particular in his article, Go Russia. And you can say that this analysis, it can be formulated in this way that, as indeed we saw in the strategy Russia 2020, that Russia has two alternative roads to go. One is the inertia road, or you can say the energy rent road that several colleagues have discussed here, and that's low growth and 3 to 4% growth a year. That's one alternative. And the other alternative, that is what is called in the Russia 2020 strategy, the innovation strategy, which is simply deregulation, clean out the corruption, and get a higher growth rate of 6 to 7%. So to me, the question is rather, when will Russia turn to the second alternative? Because although President Medvedev told us, we have changed today, in fact, what has changed is the discussion. The reality has not changed as yet. We are seeing very few reforms actually going on, essentially the military reform, but very little about what Sergei talked about, Sergei Guriev, about the reform of the institutions. And that's what must come about. And turning to the financial crisis now, you can say that there are two parts to it. Russia had and has an excellent fiscal policy. And Russia has and had a very poor structural policy. Essentially, there have been no structural reforms since 2002. So we have now seen about 8 years without reforms. And there were broad expectations, both in Russia and abroad, that the financial crisis should finally tilt Russia to restart reforms again. Market-oriented reforms to clean out unnecessary bureaucracy. And this, so far, has not happened. And to my mind, it's only a question of time when that comes about. And it can come about in a couple of different ways. One is that there is a serious political change, however that will come about. And the other is that the oil price falls. This is Igor Gaidar's idea in his book, Collapse of Empire, that Russian policy is very much governed by the oil price. Well, I should say Piotr Aven here is perhaps the strongest author of that idea. I remember that Peter pushed this idea around 1990 quite strongly. So the question is really, when will there be political preconditions for doing what so many now know is necessary? And I think that Klaus Mangold summarized some of these issues quite well. I would personally put three big packages of issues at front for Russia. One is WTO accession. It has been discussed so much, there's so little that remains. So I think that the relevant parties should just get together and get it done. I think this should be the key issue for the Obama-Medvedev summit now in 1 week's time in Washington. The second issue is something has to be done about these state corporations that are spreading out like octopuses and swamping the economy. They need to be dissolved and privatized, and this is very much an issue. And then the third thing is massive deregulation, which I think is possible, and that should be done. Russia has a lot of red tape, not only in the immigration system, but in all kinds of ways of life. And this should not be allowed to continue. So I think that this is doable, and these are the things that we should look for, that something is really done to sort out Russia's profound structural problems. While I would expect that the fiscal side will remain very strong and steady. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let us now continue this discussion of the impossibility of any serious economic change in Russia without political reform. Dmitry, my question is for you. If we could have the microphone for Mr. Trenin. What's your assessment of the role of Russia in the political sense? Where will Russia be 10 years from now? We heard Mr. Oslan's prediction about when this is going to happen. What would you say? Just a second. This microphone doesn't seem to be working. Can this be helped? So that I don't stand with my back to anyone, I'll face sideways. I believe that if modernization continues with its technological and innovational focus, it will be too narrow for its purposes, even in the spheres of technology and innovation. Certainly there must be a socio-political component involved. I would say that we must recall the words of Prime Minister Putin, who spoke about that agency where he served during the first part of his career, which would find new technologies and bring them into the country, but and offer them to the Soviet industry, but the Soviet industry rejected that because they were just unable to incorporate that into what they did. The same, unfortunately, can happen today. If new technologies are simply imported into Russia, they may be rejected by the bureaucracy. So courageous decisions have to be taken, and it requires a new strategy for the next 10 years or more to come. In fact, I think we should slightly change our viewpoint. Russia is not so much between the East and West as it is between the North and South, if by North we mean development and innovation, and South means degradation and decay. In this sense, North Korea is moving south and South Korea is moving north. I think that's the scale on which Russia operates. And in order for Russia to move northwards, Russia needs the broad policy of modernization. And I think this decision must and will be made, maybe after the next election. I hope it will be a decision for a broad and fundamental modernization of the country, because without that nothing will happen. Now, a few words about foreign policy. Modernization-wise, or rather looking from the viewpoint of the interests of Russia, anything that is for the benefit of Russia must be the goals of the Russian foreign policy. Not matters of prestige, not matters of reputation or responses to old threats or the vestiges of the past. In this sense, OECD countries, mentioned by somebody here, are the main resources of modernization for Russia, and that's where Russia's foreign policy must be focused. Klaus Mangold spoke about Germany. Germany and Europe can become Russia's key to the restoration of its industry on a whole new level. We need Germany in the east of Russia. Our biggest problem areas are not around Moscow. They are to the east of the Urals. Or perhaps we could get similar help from Japan or Korea or indeed China. Russia needs a new and strategically thought out approach to China. Russia has no experience of dealing with a strong China. We have a very different sort of experience of interacting with China, and China policy is now a big challenge for Russia. Now, something about the United States of America. I think now we have a window for building some and this window of opportunity has a name, President Barack Obama. More things can be done today than could be done in the past 8 years. And in maybe 10 years from now, there might be a chance for the American establishment's opinion about Russia changing. Without that, Russia and America could not cooperate on the sort of technological level that is necessary today, and the same applies to Europe. This is something that can be done and that needs to be done, and that has to be done within the next 10 years. Perhaps that's the biggest challenge for the next 10 years. Now, I don't believe Russia is so much of a Eurasian country. There is not much Asian about Russia, but it's a Euro-Pacific country. Our eastern neighbor is not so much China. China is our southern neighbor, but the United States. If Russia is to expand its eastern policy and encompasses East Asian countries in its scope of policy, that will give Russia a huge new range of resources. Thank you very much.